And my name is Amuda Abiola Alima. I'm one of the group member of this team. And on behalf of my team and I, we are pleased to welcome you to our presentation. Our topic is growing GDP. GDP means domestic product in poorer countries by strengthening the small and medium-sized enterprises infrastructure. And this is a case study of Kenya. In this project, my team member and I will explore strengthening small and medium enterprises infrastructure in developing nations, specifically Kenya. And we derive a long-term GDP growth, job creation, and economic resilience. Our research takes a practical and strategic approach by combining a real-world data, simulation outcome, and theoretical analysis to provide a holistic view of Kenya ecosystem. We structured our presentation into several keys. We have the problem solving, the background context, we have the causes of the problem, the key stakeholder, the existing effort, data and evidence, theoretical analysis, SWOT analysis, potential impact, strategic recommendation. Through the presentation, my team member and I we will highlight the practical, strategic, and policy insights that could help not just Kenya but other developing nations with similar challenges. I will hand over to my colleague Shishan to take over from me. Thank you.
My name is Zishan Ali, and I'll be starting off our group presentation today. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate your time. The topic we choose is growing GDP in poorer countries by strengthening SME infrastructure, a case study of Kenya. Uh, the the reason we picked the topic is that developing economies, but in many countries, including Kenya, these businesses still face major obstacles when it comes to growing or even surviving. Our team, including Amuda, Kamar, and Arbaz, wanted to dig uh, deeper into what those barriers are. The next slide, the topic, why the topic matters. Let me start by explaining why this matters in the first place. In many developing countries, formal jobs are limited, and most people can't just walk into stable, salaried person position. So, what do? They often open shops, run food stalls, offer digital services, or manage small farms. These are all examples of SMEs, and in Kenya, they are everywhere. To give you sense of scale, SMEs make up to about 90% of businesses in Kenya and 80% of employment. That means most people in Kenya rely on small businesses to make a living. Now the next slide is the central problem. One of the first things we noticed in our research was the huge gap between potential and reality. On paper, Kenya supports entrepreneurship, but in practice, many small businesses are stuck in a cycle of informality and underperformance. The biggest challenge is finance. Getting a loan from bank isn't easy. Bank usually ask us for land or other assets for collateral, which many people just don't have. And if they do get a loan, the rates are 13%, 13 to 16%, which makes a repayment very difficult. Now, the even registering a business can be a challenge. The paperwork, fees, and bureaucracy are too much for many entrepreneurs. So the informal, but the problem is that informal businesses can't access, and the legal support or scale up easily. So it becomes a trap. The next slide, Kenya's economic central. Let's take a step back and look at the bigger the problems which are, but the truth is that over 70% of people are working in the informal economy, meaning they are not officially part of the tax system, don't have labor protections, and often can't grow beyond a small local market. That's a huge disconnect. So even though Kenya is pushing forward with infrastructure and policy, it's missing a huge opportunity by not fully integrating SMEs into the formal economy, and until that happens, a large portion of the workforce and the economy will remain limited. The main causes of problem are the access to finance, high interest rates, and poor infrastructure, weak policy implementation, and limited access to markets and procurement. And let me share the example, which is when the woman named Grace, who runs a tailoring business just outside of the Kisumu. She has a small team and good demand. Uh, she slipped for a loan. The bank asked for land collateral, which she didn't have, so she had to borrow from informal lenders at high interest rate. She is hardworking and skilled, but without financial support, she can't grow, and that's a story saw repeated across different case studies. Now I will what's actually being done supports SME. I now hand over to Amoda, who going to explain the key stakeholders involved and the government and international efforts currently in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Shizan. And I'll be talking on the key stakeholder in Kenya SME ecosystem. In this part of presentation, I'll be focusing on three main areas. One is the key stakeholder in Kenya SME development. The second one is the existing effort already in place to support the SME. And the third one is the data and external factor influencing the SME growth. This slide, we examine the core issue facing SME. My team member and I also asked who actually hold the power to the change. We were able to identify 5 key groups. The first one is the Kenya government. The next one is the financial institution, such as banks. The third one is the international development partners. And the fourth one is the private sectors. And lastly, they are the NGOs. This challenge isn't the absence of support. It is ensuring that these groups coordinate effectively and their impact reaches the SME across the region and not just the urban centers. The next slide is existing efforts in Kenya to support the SME. Kenya has launched some promising initiatives to support the SME, but access and delivery remains uneven. Some of the efforts were reviewed include the Usual Fund, which distributed over 75 million to support youth and women in entrepreneurs. The second one is the Behas Kenya Fund. It's aimed at consolidating and simplifying the SME loans program. The third one is the Ajiria Digital Program, which has trained over 1 million young people in digital and freelance skills. The fourth one is the MSME Act of 2012, which provide a legal framework to support the sector. The last one is the mobile money platform like M-Pesa, which have increased access to basic financial services, now reaching over 80% of the population. While funding is strong, many rural and informal businesses are struggling to access these tools and effectively. The next slide, I'll be talking about the relevant data and evidence. These numbers reveal both the importance of SME and the gap in support. SME make up to 90% of all businesses in Kenya. They contributed roughly 33% of GDP support and support 80% of employment. However, only 30% are formally registered and just 7% have access banks loan. Interestingly, about 95% of small group transactions happen through mobile money, showing strong digital use, but limited formal financial integration. This statistics shows clearly that while SME are backbone of the economy, they are largely excluded from formal opportunity. The next slide, I'll be talking about the theoretical models such as the pestle analysis. My team member and I carried out this analysis to understand the external environmental SME are operating in. We have one, the political Kenya, which is relatively stable and pro-business. We have the economically inflation and high borrowing costs, which are the major barriers. Socially, high youth unemployment has also pushed many into starting business without training. On technological fronts, mobile and internet access is a strong and a real opportunity for scaling. Legally, the framework exists to often too complex or costly for micro businesses. One story that stood out to us was involved a group of women running a certain catering business in Nkuru. They were doing well locally and wanted to formalize their businesses, but the registration process was slow, complex, and involved multiple government offices. Eventually, they gave up. This shows that even motivated entrepreneurs can be held back by a system that doesn't even make room for them. I'll hand over to my colleague Kamar to take over from me. Thank you.
Thanks, Alminda. Hi, everyone. I am Kamar, and I will talking about the slide. This slide is about soft analysis, Kenya's SEMS environment. And through the soft analysis, we do the better understand the Kenya internal strength and weakness. But with the come the sporting, SEMS has external opportunities, threats, and country effects. We use this tool to behind of the surface and ask what's working, what's not working, and what can Kenya do from the better learning. Let's we start the strength. Kenya is the strong entrepreneur culture. The many people, like especially young people, are like to willing start his own entrepreneur business. There is also large domestic marketing. It means SAMS did not need to depend only exports. There are local demands. And the Kenya is the region hub and digital innovation, the where separates mobile money and technically issues to use these things to solve these problems to earn the uh, good money. And the Kenya is the region's hub of the digital innovations. Also, we now go to the weakness, the most uh, weakness of this the Kenya the facing the big problem limited access of finance, which we will already touch on. Many SAMs owners ask like the technical hoops and business skills. For example, they may be create and careful about the strength and accounting, innovation, management, and marketing. Another major weakness is the most SAMs are informal. They blogs, they are scamming up to the receiving instruction sports. Now we give the opportunities. Kenya is the part of East African community which give access to the region trades their governments growing the number of public private entrepreneurs and the support from the international donors. Also digital platform is the becoming the more accessible, so SAMs have the change to the sales online manage and digital access to the e-learning resource. Finally, the biggest threat is the policy inconsensus. The government's law says over the things but implement in the country level rather than slow the unaware. There is also the risk cheap imports, especially in the manufacturing and agriculture field, which make the thresh stems are incomplete. And the courses, global factors like infrastructures, circumstances, and sports and shocks like the limited resources, a small business cannot survive with the financial circumstances. And next we go to the other slides. These slides discuss about the what Kenya can learn. Based on these circumstances study, we published together a few lessons to related to the SAMs to Kenya can understand from the like different country. From India, Kenya can learn to the scale of credit, access, and micro small businesses. Especially, we reduce the recruitment to the and give the loan to the new entrepreneurs. And from the Ramdan International, they created the schemes to help the lower level of the people to give loan to increase and start entrepreneur business. From the Vinton, the Kenya can make it easier and even rewarding of our informal business regarding to the digitals. They will bring the tax but not also unlock access to sports systems. And compared to the Singapore, the lesson is about encouraging innovation. Kenya already has a sport technical presence, so great innovations hoops to youth and teach the people to create this one. The main takeaway here is the Kenya does not need to copy completely from the other countries. They need to adopt some technical skills and techniques to improve your environments and also uh, give to the opportunity to the small SAMs to increase your entrepreneurs. Now I give to the chance my colleagues Arbaz to start next slides. Thank you.
Thanks, Kamal. Hello again. I'm Arbaz, and I'll be taking you through the final part of our presentation, the recommendations. These are based on everything we have learned, the problem, the data, the stakeholder efforts, and even what other countries have done successfully. We broke our recommendations into short terms and long term steps, things that Kenya can start doing now and things that require deeper reforms. So, starting with the short term, simplify registrations. A lot of business owners and stay informal just because the registration process is too complicated or expensive. Kenya should digitalize or centralize this process so that people in remote areas don't have to travel or deal with multiple offices. Expand access to affordable credits. As we saw earlier, only 7% of SMEs get formal loans. That numbers needs to go up. The government should expand low interest loan schemes and also create mobile based microloans option for very small businesses. Basic financial training. Many enterprises have the drive but not the knowledge to manage funds properly. We recommend launching short practicals training programs, especially through mobile platforms. Kenya already have great mobile reach. Set up local business hubs. We suggest building incubation centers at the county levels, not just in Nairobi, where businesses owners can get guidance, internet access, mentorships, and help with paperwork. These are the things that don't require massive policy shifts, but they could make a big difference in how small businesses start, survive, and grow. So the next is long-term recommendations. Now, for the long-term sides, we are looking at deeper structural changes that requires more planning, funding, and collaborations. Investing in infrastructure. This means better roads, more reliable electricity, and high-speed internet, especially in rural areas. Without these bases, SMEs can't scale or connect to wider markets. Enforce procurement quotas. The government could reserve a fixed percentage of public contract for small especially for those run by youth or women. This could be give SMEs key income and chance to grow. Improve national county coordinations. One major issue we found was policy inconsistency between the national government and local county offices. A policy might exist nationally, but he ignored or delayed locally. Fixing this could really improve access to sport. Create innovative grants. Kenya is known for its digital talent, especially among the youth. We recommend launching youth innovation grants or challenges where small startup can win funding and mentorships based on creative business. So the next is bigger picture. So what does all this really mean? For us, the biggest realization was the SMEs are more than just small business. They are engines for job creations and innovations and economic inclusions. They are where most people can earn a living, especially those who don't have access to formal employment. So the last one is conclusion. To wrap up, our research shows that Kenya has the right intentions through policies like Vision's 2030, digital inclusion programs, and legal reforms, but there is still a long way to go in actually delivering result at the grassroots level. What we are suggesting is not about completely changing the system, it's about making it more accessible, more inclusive, and more inconsistent. We believe that by following a mix of short term fixes and long term reforms, Kenya can turn in its SME sectors into a real driver of GDP growth and opportunities. Thank you so much for listening to our presentations. We are happy to answer any question or hear your feedback. Thanks.